Hello friends and neighbors, welcome to Living Beautifully. So today I'm going to be giving you a brief tour of the garden. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a garden tour. So I'm going to show you around, show you the things that I'm excited about and some things we're going to have to work on. Hope you join me. So first we're going to be starting off with our lettuce bed or our bed of leafy greens. This is one of the beds that I am going to have to do some work on. The tomatoes, the determinate tomatoes that I have planted here are doing really well. And I also have some kale and lettuce planted here. The lettuce is starting to bolt, so I need to pull that up. It's bolting a little bit faster than I anticipated, and so there's no way I'm going to be able to eat all of this lettuce. So I'm going to be giving some away, and hopefully I don't have to compost a whole lot, but some of it may go into the compost. But I do have some adolescent or baby lettuce that is growing up in there. And then also my kale plants that I've planted, several different varieties of, are all doing well as well. So once I pull up the bigger lettuce that's bolting, that will give some more room for those plants to grow. Next up, we have our pepper bed. And for the most part, they are doing pretty good. They are starting to put on some flowers, as you can see. But there is something that is eating at some of these leaves, and I'm not really even sure what it is. I have seen some grasshoppers kind of hopping around. I don't know if that's what's eating them or if this is snail damage. I really don't know what's going on. So I may have to come out here at night one night and see if that gives me a better idea of what kind of pest is causing those issues. It's not to the point where they're not growing or flowering, but especially some of the smaller peppers that, didn't get as much of a jump start, like this one, that one back there. I really want to make sure that I'm kind of giving them the protection that they need until they get a little bit bigger and are able to sustain a little bit more damage. And then here, you can see some of my onions are maybe starting to bulb up. Hopefully, crossing my fingers that I'll at least get a few onions this year. Then next we have our tomato bed. And you'll see I'll put in a little clip as I'm talking here. Yesterday I pruned all of these tomatoes. Basically from here down, I cut any of the branches or leaves. And the reason for that is to prevent the likelihood of different fungal diseases. I have these planted really, really tightly. Even if you're talking about intensive planting, I probably should have only done 4 plants per row. So we will see together whether or not I deeply regret that. But these are really tightly packed. So when you do that, it's really important that you heavily prune them so that they're going up a single stake, and that there's enough airflow so that the leaves are able to dry out and you have less risk of different fungal diseases. Hopefully they will do okay after their pruning. And then you see kind of down in there that some of our celery plants are getting more mature. We're starting to see some actual stalks. So that is nice to see. My basil is finally starting to kind of grow a little bit better. This one I actually replaced with a store-bought basil. And the reason for that is, I don't know if it was a grasshopper or some roly-polies or what, but something ate the basil that I planted down to a stub. So that was replanted. But overall, this bed is doing really well. That reminds me, on the pepper bed, I'll show you the basil from this pepper bed. That one's doing well. I actually pruned some of the basil that I started from seed yesterday too. You can see where I made some of the cuts. And that's just so that they branch out a little bit more. And the other thing that I wanted to show you on this bed, I'm so excited about, my snapdragon is starting to bloom. Y'all, I'm so excited. I feel like it's going to be so pretty. Look at that color. I feel like it's going to look like the flowers you get from a florist. I was really worried because, you know, it was starting to get warm, and snapdragons are more of a cool season crop. And so I was hoping that they would still bloom, and it looks like I'll at least get some blooms this year. So I'm really excited about that. And then the rest of my flowers, this bed is almost completely devoted to flowers. I have a few herbs, like I have oregano right there, and then in the back I have sage on each of those corners. But really the rest of it is just flowers. I have poppies in there, poppies, zinnias, snapdragons, bachelor buttons. I have some chamomile here at the front that I'm hoping to be able to harvest some flowers to make some tea. Also have some echinacea that's coming back from overwintering. So I'm glad that that survived the winter. But the flower bed is doing well. And I'll just quickly show you the mirroring beds for the peppers and tomatoes. So here's the other pepper bed, and they are doing well. The onions are doing great in this bed as well. I have 2 volunteer tomato plants. There were a couple of tomatoes that I composted last year, and they have now been reborn through the summer. I'm definitely going to pull this one, but I may let this one go and just see what it does. I don't know. But they're doing well overall. They're getting the same leaf damage as the other bed. The basil in this bed is not as mature. I don't think I even pruned it yesterday, but it's doing okay. And then here is the other tomato bed. And again, just like the other one, I did prune it yesterday. So it's not quite as wild and crazy as it was before. They're all doing well, putting on a few tomatoes. You can see kind of down in through here. If I can move back all the leaves. Goodness. You can see some tomatoes that are fruiting back there, and there's some cherry tomatoes that are starting to fruit. And all of them are putting on flowers and starting to put on some fruit, so I'm pleased with that. Then next we have one of our melon beds. This has melons as well as bush beans. Let me actually go to the other side so I can tell you the actual names of the melons. So as far as the beans, that first row is cannellini beans. These are limas, which seem to be really taking off. And then these, I believe, are Maxibel Harcott on this next row. And then in between, I have some melons planted. So you can see one right here. Once I determine which of these seems to be the healthiest, I will snip the other one to give the main one more space. And those are Moon and Stars. That's a Moon and Stars watermelon. And then right here we have a Jubilee watermelon. And then the last one is right here. And then this one is actually a Desert King watermelon. So those are the melons that we're growing in this bed. And if we go over to her sister bed, you will see, first of all, I have to point out this beautiful sunflower that is starting to just shoot up. I intended for there to be one in the other melon bed, but for some reason it did not germinate. I may try planting it again, but I don't know if it'll be the same with this one being so much more mature. I don't know. But this one did germinate, took off. I'm very excited to see how that will do. And then we have 3 different cantaloupes in here. Well, actually right now it's technically just 2, but we planted some seeds right here. So hopefully they will germinate soon. And then the other two, we have How's Best cantaloupe. That's a cantaloupe that did really, really well for us last year, and so we replanted it. And then there are, again, a few bush beans, and there's some basil in the middle, just some various different plants throughout this bed. As far as changes for this bed, I'm probably going to end up dividing these chives. It's just getting a little bit too big, and you can see kind of in the middle where I already cut back a lot and dehydrated it. So I think it's growing a little bit too fast for me to keep up with. So I'm probably going to divide that up so that it's a little smaller, not taking up quite so much of the bed. Then in between these, we have our summer squash bed. So this is the bed that we reset together when I pulled all of those carrots in the last video. And so here we have, I believe, golden zucchini, both here and here. I tend to like zucchini more than like the crookneck squash, so I just did yellow and green zucchini. So these two are the yellow zucchinis, and then on the next row, those two are green zucchini, and then in the middle I planted from seed gray zucchini, and you can see that those have popped up. Again, once I decide which of the two plants seems to be doing the best, I will eliminate the other one. And just a quick update from that video so that you can see how the different plants that we transplanted did. So you can see that this oregano very much so has bounced back. So it tolerated the transplantation well. I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the nasturtiums seem to have survived. Now they're kind of little runts. Like if you look at these nasturtiums versus, let's say, this one, you can definitely see the difference in maturity, but it does seem like they survived the actual transplantation, so I was excited about that. The alyssum, the white alyssum did okay, and the purple alyssum, I mean, it tolerated it, but it didn't do as well as the white, so it may take a little bit more time to bounce back. But overall, this bed is doing well. And then last we have our corn beds. So the corn seems to be doing pretty well. It's kind of shooting up, especially after the rain that we got. I do have one winter squash planted in each of these beds. This one, I believe, has kabochi squash, and the other one has a honey nut squash, which is like a type of butternut squash. And then I also have some pole beans that are planted along the trellis. As you can see, they have not really grown as much as I would have liked for them to at this point. I've hit them with some organic liquid fertilizer. I have put some urea in this bed. I've tried to do what I can to kind of give them a better start. They're not quite growing the way that I would like, but I'm just going to keep giving them time and be patient with them. Same thing with these. These are also, oh sorry, kind of knocked the camera. Same thing with these. These are also pole beans. These are actually doing a little bit better. Some of these are starting to get some tendrils and try to climb up the trellis, so that's good. And then we have our other corn bed, which these are not doing quite as well as the other beds. Not really sure the reason for that, but again, just kind of wait and see what nature does, how things go. And then there's some more pole beans on this trellis. And then this bed, so again, you can see like on this side, the corn seems to be doing really well. Then on this side, not so much. Again, I don't have an explanation. I don't know why. You know, you kind of try to troubleshoot. I try to look and make sure that all of the drip tape is distributing water equally. There's no reason for sun to be blocking this particular area. I don't really have a reason why this little spot is not doing as well as the rest. So again, when you've done all you can do, you just kind of wait and see what happens. It's almost kind of similar with the beans in this bed. You can almost see a gradient from yellow to green along those pole beans, where it just seems like the beans in the back have a little bit more nutrients or nutrition. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this section of the bed. So if y'all have any thoughts or deals, let me know. And then the last two beds that we're going to talk about are our potato beds. So these are Yukon Gold potatoes and then Prairie Blush potatoes. There's just a small little section kind of like right here that is Prairie Blush. I believe that those are the ones that are starting to bloom. And then the rest are Yukon Golds. And they seem to be doing very well. And then this bed is my other carrot bed that I was telling you about in the last video. So I'm actually going to be pulling those up today. I may do like a short little cover video just showing you me pulling this up and filling this with soil. And once I fill that bed, I am going to be putting my sweet potato slips in that bed. For those of you who don't know, you cannot grow sweet potatoes from the actual potato. You have to take the potato, either put it in some water and some soil and let it grow slips, and then you plant those slips in the ground. So I will be planting those today. Well, that is all that is going on in the garden today. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that your gardens are doing well and that everything is growing and thriving, and that we can all hope for some harvest pretty soon. Well, until next time, you guys remember to cultivate something good in your life and in the lives of those around you. Take care.